Iced coffee. We all want it. There's so many recipes and contraptions out there to make cold brew, and we've been testing them for a few years to see what the best, easiest way really is. If you strip down the process of making cold brew, all you really need is a container, some sort of straining device, and coarsely ground coffee. For all the brewing methods we're describing, you're gonna be producing a coffee concentrate, which is really strong. You're gonna wanna dilute it with water or milk. One of the most popular methods of making cold brew is using a French press. A lot of people just have a French press lying around, so this is a really easy way to make cold brew without buying anything extra. You add your grounds to the bottom, fill it up with water, and then put your plunger on top and wait 12 to 24 hours. After that, you just plunge away. It's pretty much ready to drink. A small drawback to this method is that the filter in a French press isn't fine enough to actually get the sediment out. So there's gonna be a lot of tiny bits left in your coffee. And if you think sediment in hot coffee is unpleasant, it's even worse in a cold drink. Another popular method is just to use a mason jar and some cheesecloth. This is probably the cheapest method you'll find, and it definitely works, but it's kind of a hassle. To get the cold brew concentrate after you've filled your container with coarsely ground coffee and enough water, you'll have to basically tie it off with twine or a rubber band after you've waited for the 12 to 24 hours. And then pour it into another container. The problems come when you're actually trying to do this pouring. Ugh. It's pretty much just waiting for this to happen. It's very slow. And there's nothing really you can do here. You just have to wait like this. I don't know, I have better things to do with my life. This will take 20 minutes probably. Okay, all right, we're done. Cheesecloth can get really clogged up, especially by coffee. And so when I would used to do this, I would have to move the cheesecloth around a lot, which is a little bit of a hassle. And then once you've done that, the concentrate that you're left with is still not really clean. It still tastes gritty, you can still taste the sediment and feel the sediment in your mouth. And as with the French press, that's not pleasant. Our favorite cheap method for making cold brew is using a nut milk bag. A nut milk bag has a really interesting design where it kind of acts in the same way as a tea bag does. You can basically drape the opening of the nut milk bag around the opening of your mason jar and drop it in, and all your coffee grounds will stay inside of the bag. Once you're finished brewing, you can just take this bag and pull it right out. And then you can just toss these out, and then you have your coffee concentrate already right here. No extra pouring, it's not very fussy, but it's still imperfect. The concentrate that you actually get out of this still has a lot of the textural problems that our other cheap methods have. It's still a little gritty, it's still a little grainy, and it tends to be not perfectly extracted. If you want to get a clean texture, you can pass this through a paper filter, but you can't really do anything to fix that extraction at this point. We tested all three of these methods alongside various equipment specifically designed for making cold brew. And even though it would be great to not have to buy anything extra to get that cup of coffee, we do think the results are noticeably better when you do. Our two favorite cold brew making kits are the OXO cold brew maker and the Filtron cold brew maker. The reason we love the OXO and why it's our top pick, it's because it's so easy to set up and so easy to use. Once you've actually added your ground coffee and your water in through this little rainmaker, this is called the rainmaker. All you have to do after you've waited your 12 hours to brew is just push this little lever, and then the coffee will go straight down. It's kind of like magic, the fact that it just stays up. It's not magic, it's mechanics. And the coffee produced by this is really tasty. It has a really, really fine mesh filter, and so the concentrate you get out of it is very clean. It's not oily or anything, it just tastes good. Another cold brew maker we like is the Filtron. The process for brewing is similar to the OXO, similar to any of our cheap methods. You add coffee grounds to the main chamber and then add water on top of it and wait. And the coffee produced by the Filtron is really good. In every test that we've done for the last 3 rounds, tasters have liked coffee from the Filtron more than any other method we've tried. It just has a full body that none of the other coffee makers or cold brew makers have achieved. But the reason it's not our top pick is because it's a little bit more finicky. You have to pull out this little rubber stopper yourself, and I've never been able to use it and actually do that without spilling a little bit around on the counter. you know, that's not a huge deal, but it is like kind of annoying. Another drawback to the Filtron is the reusable filter. It's this felt filter that fits perfectly into a spot at the bottom of this brew chamber, but it's gross. It's reusable, and it's just like very hard to clean. The company recommends like running it underwater until the water runs clear between every use, and then occasionally boiling it in hot water. In between uses, you're actually supposed to keep it inside of this little container in your fridge, and you know, that's just weird. I think it's just weird. So that's why we prefer the OXO a little bit more than the Filtron. It's just easier to use, easier to clean, and it makes coffee that's almost as good. Of course, using cold brew makers involves spending a little bit of extra money. Each round tends to produce about like 10 to 12 cups worth of concentrate, which if you're drinking cold brew pretty regularly, after not that long of a time, that'll pay for itself. But if you value convenience and taste above everything else, we think these are the best options for getting your fix at home. We ended up getting the best tasting coffee from this guy, the OXO cold brew maker. Wow. Oh, sorry. I don't know how that happened. Come on down.